the unintended consequences of interest rate ceilings, or usury ceilings as they're called, really ends up hurting the people that they're most intended to help, which is three things basically happen, which is the first is you can think of a loan as being like any other price. It's like squeezing a balloon. And you can regulate the interest rate, but you can't regulate necessarily the other terms of the contract. So why is it today that most credit cards have no annual fee, for example, whereas credit cards in the 60s and the 70s did have an annual fee? Well, the reason is that in the 70s, there were strict interest rate ceilings. And because lenders couldn't charge a market rate of interest, they ended up just tacking on an annual fee. And annual fees are especially bad for poor people because they're regressive. Everybody paid the same $40 annual fee, regardless of whether you had a $20,000 credit line or a $500 credit line. So first you get term repricing, which makes pricing less transparent. The second thing you get is what's called product substitution. So one of the great things that's happened since interest rates on credit cards were deregulated in the 1970s was the proliferation of bank-type credit cards, Visa, American Express, Discover, and MasterCard branded products. Prior to that, the overwhelming amount of credit that people got was from department stores and installment lenders. And so why did people rely so much on department store credit? Because basically what department stores would just do is bury the cost of the credit in the price of the goods they sold. So there were some great studies done in Texarkana, Texas, which was a perfect example because Texas on one side of the state line, the city divides Texas and Arkansas. Texas had basically no interest rate ceiling. Arkansas had the strictest interest rate ceiling in the country. And what they found was the exact same refrigerator cost 8% more in Arkansas than it did in Texas because people buy refrigerators and other appliances on credit. Who are the cash consumers? Usually, again, they're going to be the low interest, low income consumers. The other thing we saw was that Arkansas was also the pawn shop capital of America, which is people who needed cash credit couldn't get it at a 10% interest rate limit. And so they could either pay inflated prices for goods, or if they needed cash credit, they'd have to go to a pawn shop or some other lender because they couldn't get a credit card.